Jordan Peterson has always been controversial. This Canadian psychologist has quit Twitter due to a furor he caused by saying the plus-size Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover model was not beautiful. Peterson is best known for taking a stance against political correctness, and he's permanently running his mouth against so-called woke ideologies. But how did this all start, and has Twitter lost one of its most controversial voices for good? Keep watching for answers to these and other questions. First off, that controversial tweet. Peterson is 59 now. One would think that at that age, he would be a little more cautious about the personal opinions he utters in the ether. But no, it turns out he's not. The more he can fan the flames, the happier he seems to be. And he appears not to care how his utterances are received. The tweet that started the fracas involved a plus-sized model, Yumi Nu. Peterson posted a picture of the curvy 25-year-old model's cover shoot for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition and added the caption, "Sorry, not beautiful, and no amount of authoritarian tolerance is going to change that." Say something like that on Twitter, and the proverbial will hit the fan. And that's exactly what happened. Let's tell you how. Then, Twitter erupted like Mount Vesuvius on a bad hair day. It took only seconds for the Twitterverse to erupt. Mud was slung at this clinical psychologist, author, and former University of Toronto professor from all directions, with some of the Twitterati calling him an ass and a freak. One Twitter user went as far as to write, "My guy, you look like a child skeleton covered in mayonnaise with dryer lint on top. You're in no position to be assessing anybody's beauty, you rickety junkie." Others took aim at Peterson, who authored the international bestseller 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, by posting his own image with the words he used to describe Yumi Nu attached. At this point, a public figure like Peterson would change his tone. But did he? Yet Peterson refused to back down. Through the initial barrage, Jordan Peterson stuck to his guns. In fact, he went on the offensive by calling critics panderers. He emphasized that a decision to put plus-sized women on the cover of a magazine like Sports Illustrated swimsuit was, according to his worldview, a conscientious and cynical manipulation by the oh-so-virtuous politically correct. And, as if that wasn't enough to stoke the coals of Twitter hell, he added in another tweet, "It's a conscious progressive attempt to manipulate and retool the notion of beauty, reliant on the idiot philosophy that such preferences are learned and properly changed by those who know better." Finally, Peterson saw the light, or so it seemed. Keep watching as this unfolds. And then, at last, Peterson quit. The constant shelling seemed to have become too much for Peterson, prompting him to retreat from the firing line. He announced that he was, as he put it, departing Twitter because of the vicious flood of insults, but not before adding the social media platform intrinsically and dangerously insane. "The endless flood of vicious insult is really not something that can be experienced anywhere else," he wrote. "I like to follow the people I know, but I think the incentive structure of the platform makes it intrinsically and dangerously insane." According to him, he even told his staff to change his Twitter password to keep him from temptation, adding that he would write an article or make a video if he had something more to say. "If the issue is not important to warrant that," he said, "it would be best to just let it go. Methinks the lady doth protest too much." So, did he really depart, or was that just a ruse? Okay, so Jordan Peterson departed from Twitter with a flurry of insults aimed at the platform and its users, and he said he would resort to writing articles and making videos about the things that remained close to his heart. Yet strangely, his Twitter account remains active, and there are tweets from him even after he so publicly announced he was leaving this dangerously insane social media platform. He did, however, hint that he would be taking his opinions elsewhere in the very near future, and that he's planning an article, most probably a series if we know Peterson, on all the technical arguments why Twitter maddens so many people. And folk, he's threatening to do that very soon. Scratch around a little, and you'll find Peterson's skin is not at all that thick. He's, well, watch this. But this is not the first time he's quit Twitter. This self-imposed departure from Twitter is not Jordan Peterson's first, though. It comes a few weeks after he quit the platform for the first time. His previous hiatus lasted a mere 3 weeks. When he returned, he explained that he felt genuine relief during the less than a month he'd spent away from Twitter, and added that his life became intensely worse after he decided to rejoin. Go figure. And he rubs people elsewhere the wrong way too. Internet users, as well as staff at Random House Canada, are involved in a virulent protest against the release of Dr. Jordan Peterson's forthcoming book, Beyond Order: 12 More Rules for Life. In Peterson's 2016 YouTube series, Professor Against Political Correctness, he decried gender-neutral pronouns and unisex bathrooms. This gave him the moniker, the intellectual dark web icon. This is according to an article published on Vice, while Sobbing, publishing staff at Random House, went head-to-head with management over the decision to publish Peterson's book. Management ended up defending its stance at a town hall meeting just over a week ago. And an employee of Random House apparently called Peterson an icon of hate speech and transphobia, and an icon of white supremacy, in a recent interview with Vice World News. This employee took it a step further, saying, "Regardless of the content of his book, I'm not proud to work for a company that publishes him." That's poking the bear again. and the results are predictable. Be sure to watch to the end. And again, the Twitter volcano erupted. This time, the vitriol spewed from both the political and social right and the left. Jordan Peterson comes from a long line of sickos who go out and write self-help books to exploit vulnerable people in need of guidance when they fit that category perfectly, said a tweet from Hassan Piker. Piker later quoted Peterson during a Tucker Carlson interview, saying, "If you have your children in a school and teachers talk about equity in class, equity, diversity, white privilege, systemic racism, any of that, take your children out of that class." Mraz swiftly responded with, "Every douchebag who tries to convince me that patriarchy is good, actually, because it's the natural order of things, supports their argument with a YouTube link to Jordan Peterson." So the stern dad approach seems to work for Jordan Peterson. Peterson's new book is a controversial follow-up to the 2018 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. It's a little more than a series of self-help musings, founded on the idea of existential human suffering. Chapters are titled with names that seem to date from the 1950s, Stand Up Straight with Your Shoulders Back, and Pet a Cat When You Encounter One on the Street. It's a book written for stern and unrelenting fathers everywhere. In The Guardian, Dorian Linsky wrote, "It's a book riddled with pseudo-facts and conspiracy theories." But Jordan seems to have struck a chord. Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life seems to carry on An Antidote to Chaos. Both titles are written in an almost identical vein. This is a fact that Twitter users, even famous ones, didn't miss. Only Jordan Peterson could go on an all-beef diet, develop a hardcore benzo addiction, spend 8 days in a medically induced coma, and then wake up as someone I don't want to hang out with, Rachel McCartney, the comedian, tweeted. Comedy account The Law Boy followed that up with, "So Jordan Peterson wrote a book called 12 Rules for Life, and then immediately got hooked on benzos and nearly died, and then popped back up saying he's got 12 more rules. Laughing my ass off. Thanks, bro, but I think I'm good." Big Joel spun a thread with, "If Jordan Peterson doesn't come out of his troubling times with any kind of increased awareness of and empathy for the fact that sometimes awful shit just happens to people and fucks up their whole lives, yeah, that would actually kind of suck." But is he selling books? Is it possible he could be making money from all this? Yes, success seems to follow Jordan Peterson wherever he goes. As of January 2019, Peterson has managed to sell more than 3 million copies of 12 Rules for Life. But that hasn't prevented his supporters from protesting vigorously against what they call the attempted act of censorship. They're also saying that the people who are trying to prevent Random House from publishing his new book are exactly the people who would benefit from it. Writer Andrew Doyle came to Peterson's defense. He holds the idea that Peterson's new book and its author are far-right is a misnomer. According to him, your views mean you either haven't read the book, or if you have, you simply haven't understood it. The reality is this: Jordan Peterson is not for everyone, but he has helped many people, especially men suffering from depression, anxiety, and unresolved anger issues. His supporters say the mental health industry is over-feminized, whatever that means, and they hold firm that his voice is desperately needed.